A good woman too.
That's it, you got that right. For the new commissioner, my name is Leon Bucky Miat. I live at 114 Magnolia, Lake Arthur, Louisiana. I'm a retired lieutenant with the Louisiana State Police. This morning, at the last meeting, my integrity and honesty was questioned by Mr. Floyd Falcon. You may or may not know, when we filed a complaint against Troopers Association for improper political donations, there was one of the troopers on there is a retired state trooper, but he was reemployed as a DPS employee. By being reemployed as a DPS employee, he was not under the rules and regulations of this commission, but he was in fact under civil service. The civil service yesterday found him guilty of those violations, and my understanding, he's been given 2 weeks off without pay.
Floyd Falcon, I'd like to let you know that what you just heard from Mr. Miat regarding the former employee of the State Police Commission was not found guilty yesterday. That's absolute falsity. It just goes to show you what the man is willing to do. I represented him. We didn't appear before the commission yesterday. So the idea that he was found guilty is absolute lie.
So let's try to keep the comments more civil.
Well, the action, it's one way or the other. He's either telling the truth or he's not telling the truth, and he's not telling the truth.
Well, different people might have different interpretations of the same set of facts. I say we will keep this civil, or else we're going to we're going to make these comments extremely short.
Just to clarify, I'll take what Mr. Falcon has said with a grain of salt. I talked to the compliance officer yesterday, Ms. Linda Robert, who is the compliance officer for the Department of Civil Service, and they confirmed to me that there was a settlement reached yesterday between Mr. Falcon, Deuce Rando, and the commission. And in that settlement, I think the penalty for that settlement was 2 weeks without pay. So guilty settlement, so I may have improperly used guilty, but it was a settlement reached.
Does that, Mr. Falcon, more accurately state the situation?
There was a settlement, but it didn't relate to the same, the circumstances were different.
Right.
Mr. Rando is a classified civil service employee. Not subject to this particular board, but subject to the state civil service board. And there was some allegations, and the matter was resolved by Mr. Rando.
Thank you. Anyone else?
And I didn't give much credence to it, but being that it was a public statement, and I'd like to defend that this morning, I've asked for each of you commissioners to be sent a copy of the settlement agreement that we were discussing at that time. I believe y'all all seen it. And in that settlement agreement, it was reached back in January, but the stipulation was by all parties involved, and I'll read it to you. Upon the Commission's approval of the settlement agreement, the above referenced public investigation shall be dismissed. Both parties agree that if the Commission fails to approve the settlement, the matter will proceed to a public investigation hearing. So that had to be heard at that commission meeting on February the 8th, just like I stated in my comments. And that, a quick story. When I was a state trooper, I testified a lot of times in 19th Judicial Court. In one of my testimonies, I had arrested one guy going across the Mississippi River Bridge, DWI. When I was bringing him back to book him in East Baton Rouge, I got a DWI coming back across the bridge. Well, 6 or 8 months later, I went to testify. In my mind, I confused the two. I got up on the stand and I gave my testimony. Then when the defendant got on the stand and made his testimony, I realized what I'd done. I had mixed the two DWIs. So I asked the district attorney to put me back on the stand, in much embarrassment to myself. and I told the story and corrected myself and corrected my testimony. Well, that judge from that time on, and made the comment in open court after that, if Bucky Miette says it's so, it's so. My honesty and integrity had never been questioned before Mr. Falcon did last week, and I think it was in a situation where he was grandstanding. That aside, that's finished business.
Operation of LSPC, formally censuring LSTA attorney Falcon for his commentary entailing retired LSP trooper Leon Bucky Miette at February 8, 2018 meeting.
Mr. Simeon, I want to commend you in make what I thought was a very good attempt to rein it in. And I guess my purpose in this is that when you go beyond the pale, and in my opinion, what's going to be reflected on this video was beyond the pale, I think the body needs to make a statement that it's unacceptable. And that's why I made the agenda request. If I had engaged in that activity, I would have fully expected to be escorted out. And I will let y'all know I was escorted out of one meeting. And all I did was say the words, November 2011. And I have that on video. I'm not going to go into why those magic words were so delicate, but I was escorted out against my wishes.
Do we have a motion to approve minutes?
Madam Chair, I'd like to discuss that before a vote's taken.
So you have a question on the minutes?
I have a question that pertains to agenda-related items, yes.
From the last meeting?
No, this thing is not published on the LaTrac website. Today's meeting is not published on
I put
the...
it on there yesterday. Robert, I'm not gonna argue with you. It's okay. That's what you're saying. I'm sitting here saying, look, I know better than to not post it.
Yeah.
Because I know that's exactly what you'll show up and do. I sat in my office yesterday and posted it.
I'm just telling you it's not on there.
It's also hanging.
What else?
Hey, after November 2011, when there was a whole bunch of agendas
Excuse
uploaded,
me, sir.
That's it, you have to leave.
Yeah.
Come on.
but I was escorted out. I think what happened here is beyond the pale, and I'm hoping that this body will make its statement. Censure is nothing more than we don't approve of this. That's all it is. There's no fine or anything like that. But I think it's important that this body make a statement that the type of commentary that took place at this last meeting is unacceptable. Thank you for your time.
And then complete your.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so the matter has been presented for consideration by the board. Without ruling on the merits or demerits of it, do we have a motion to consider the request of Mr. Burns? It fails for lack of a motion, Mr. Burns.
I know the rules. Thank you.
Okay, I think my comments at the last meeting stand, and we will conduct our meetings and our hearings in appropriate protocol.
Thank you.